Want to know an easy way to add depth to alcohol ink paintings? Stick around, I'll show you. Hi everyone, it's Miriam with a Y from Miriam's Nature. One of the reasons we've used Dura-Lar by Grafix together in a few videos for alcohol ink is because Dura-Lar is non-porous, so it allows the inks to perform all of their magic. Now both the clear and the matte versions work well for that. The packaging may differ depending on where you get it. I'm personally partial to the matte Dura-Lar. Okay, we know that it's non-porous, but there is another aspect of this film that we've all but ignored. It's really translucent. Today we're going to take advantage of that fact. Before I do that, I want to introduce you to another translucent film also made by Grafix. It's called Drafting Film. This is also polyester, archival, it won't tear or yellow, and it's even more translucent than Dura-Lar. It's a little trickier to find, but it might be worth it for some of you because it's available in sheets as well as rolls up to 20 yards long. Like Dura-Lar, drafting film is also non-porous, so it's great for alcohol inks. Unlike Dura-Lar, drafting film can also come with two different sides, where one side is a little shinier than the other, but you can paint on either one. When I use it, I choose the more matte side so that I can use colored pencils on it if I want. Some of you might be asking, so what if these are translucent? What does that do? Well, remember that bird at the beginning of the video against the pretty blue sky? What if you just wanted that bird against a plain background? Or an abstract background? Well, that would be really easy to do in this case because the bird and the sky are on different layers. So we can easily make changes. Another question you might ask is, why can't I just do this all on one layer? Well, of course you can, but this is a lot easier, and let me tell you why. If you do it on one layer and you're working with alcohol ink, you've got to work really hard to stay within the lines, so to speak. You know, to keep everything from bleeding into another section, because the first thing these inks love to do is bloom and spread. So that tiny little chickadee you were trying to draw could quickly become a pterodactyl. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to correct it and to get the sky background to look the way it was before, or the trees, or the other little birds that have flown away in terror. You get the idea. And another reason is that layering automatically gives lower layers a more distant, less focused look, with very little effort on your part. Or the need for dinosaur insurance. Okay. Now let's take a quick look at the translucency difference between the Dura-Lar and the drafting film. Here I have my cloud layer and my tree on two different pieces of Dura-Lar. And now I'm going to add a piece of Dura-Lar on top of that, and it really softens the tree. Now, if I added a piece of drafting film, it would soften the details of the tree also, but not quite as much as the Dura-Lar did. And then if I want to add a further layer, now the bird was done on drafting film. And what I did on the back was block out the bird in white and the tree in brown so that when I went to put it down, other things wouldn't show through these since this is done in alcohol ink. Adding another layer of Dura-Lar softens that tree in the background even more, but not quite as much there with the drafting film. So these are things to take into consideration when you're doing your layered piece. We're going to proceed with Dura-Lar because it's a little easier to find. So let's work on another painting together and use this translucent aspect of Dura-Lar to add a sense of depth to the piece. For this, I thought it would be a fun time to do an underwater scene. Notice how things in the distance look less defined and less colorful than the things up close. Everything kind of looks blue. And even in a two-dimensional picture, we still get a sense of some things being very far away. Well, we're going to mimic that. Today's goal is a bluish background with some rays of sunlight maybe bursting through the water, and maybe, I don't know, a distant school of fish. That'll be the background. I then plan on doing a foreground with fish and coral maybe, and show you little bits of the painting on camera. The goal of this video is more to show you what's possible with Dura-Lar and layering, not so much a tutorial on how to draw fish or coral. So in the interest of time, I will paint a lot of the foreground off camera. Okay? Alrighty, let's do this. Okay, I've gone ahead and cut a sheet of Dura-Lar in half so that I have my two pieces, one for the ocean and then the other for the coral and the fish. So I've taped one piece down to my work surface, which is just covered in freezer paper. For my ocean, I'm going to use three blues: PIÑATA's Baja Blue and Ranger's Turquoise and Sailboat Blue. Now the Dura-Lar has a tiny bit of tooth to it, which makes it possible to draw on it with colored pencils or graphite, as well as pens and markers. PIÑATA alcohol inks, even when they're thinned with just alcohol, hold on to that tooth really well, which is what's always let me make stuff like this. But Ranger inks, they don't behave as well for this. When I thin them with alcohol, this sort of thing happens. They get kind of grainy and they rub off easily. Now, PIñATA inks will rub off too, but not to the degree that I can rub off Ranger inks. So if you use Ranger inks, which I'm going to do, we're going to have to treat them a little bit differently. So to help the two Ranger inks bind to the Dura-Lar well, I'm going to thin them with Claro Extender. Now, if you have Ranger's alcohol blending solution, it's basically the same thing. If you're wondering why don't I just do that for all of the colors, including the PIñATA, I want to be able to rub some of the PIñATA off, and you'll see why. Okay, let us do this. I am gloved up. I am using recycled gloves. We, as a group, generate a lot of plastic waste, so I am reusing some gloves, and I encourage you to do the same. I am going to wet my surface with a lot of alcohol. This is just 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm only concerned about getting the Baja Blue on, so the PIñATA color for now. Because remember, we're going to treat the Ranger colors a little bit differently. So I am just wanting to get some of this color down. And I don't even care so much about getting it down to the bottom because that's where the Ranger colors will be going. So I'm just going to move that around. And I have some of the Baja Blue thinned already with alcohol, so I'm going to add some of it up here. I'm letting it run down toward the bottom. Oh dear, I have a leak and some ink is running underneath the tape. That will cause a stain on the back, which I will have to cover with a fish. So the reason I taped the border isn't so much because I wanted the little white border this time. It was to keep exactly this from happening, from having ink run underneath and sit underneath, but I must not have burnished the tape well there. Ah, oh well, fish. We'll put a fish right there. I like this little light patch right here. That'll be our sun area. I'm going to see about putting another piece of tape here so that this situation doesn't get worse. So my next step is to add the turquoise and sailboat blue. And remember, we're going to thin them with Claro extender. And I don't want like a straight line. I want sort of the suggestion of a distant coral reef. I'm going to put a few drops of the Claro. And the fact that it blooms is fine because it will just play up that line that I'm after. And then I'm going to put some turquoise down and some sailboat blue. And move those around. And I want to keep too dark a line from forming. And I've got an old paintbrush. I just don't want a dark line to form. But I do need it to be darker down here. So I'm trying to keep this area from becoming uniform like up there. I'm going to play around with this a little bit, and then I'm going to let this dry totally, and then we will move on to the next step. All right, my surface is completely dry, and I now want to really enhance the sun aspect here. So I'm going to turn this around because it's going to be easier for me to work this way. And the sun is sort of breaking through the water here. So I'm just using a Q-tip, and I am going to rub into the Dura-Lar this way. And what I'm trying to do is wipe off some of the color and just sort of cause some rays to form. So this is why I did not treat this part like I treated here. Like if I rubbed here, nothing would happen. But since this is just with alcohol, it's got less binder, so I can work some of it off. Let me kind of get a look at that. And you want it to sort of fade. And you have to be careful not to scratch the Dura-Lar because that tooth that it's got is like a coating, so you can scratch it off. Now what I'm going to do is put a piece of Dura-Lar over there and see. This one's a little too bright. I'll put a fish there too. Now I'm going to add a little school of fish in the background. I'm going to use a colored pencil just because it's really quick and easy. Just a little oval or a little marquee shape and a little triangle on the back for their tail. That's it, because this is more background stuff. Things all look blue far away, so I am making these blue too. There's really no need for me to still have the tape down, so I'm going to pull that off now. Now here is where things might have gone really wrong, but we'll see that in a minute. Yeah, not fabulous. I am attempting a little bit of a repair with some Claro extender on a Q-tip. Because some of the darker colors really stain. Okay, I was able to get the stain off the back pretty well. Couldn't really get it off the white without endangering coming in here. It wasn't worth it to me. I can just cut this off or color it in some other color if I want, or I don't know. That's not important. Now I have my other piece of Dura-Lar that I'm going to set down here and start planning out where I want things. Some sort of corally things down here. You know, I'm just going to sketch in some rough ideas of where I want things. And the beauty of coral is that it can look like anything. And there are hundreds of varieties of coral, I'm sure, if not thousands. So I can make up a coral and I bet you it exists. So I'm not going to go crazy looking up biological pictures of coral to make sure that I've got the right shape and all that. I'm just going to make it random. Then I want a few principal fish, like maybe one here, like an angel fish looking thing like this, maybe with some banding. You know, a few of these little guys. Maybe some seaweed, a couple anemones. And you know, if drawing isn't your thing, the other advantage to Dura-Lar being translucent is that you can trace something. So if you've got a picture, then you can just trace. Remember not to copy somebody else's work if you're going to be selling your work. There's my principal fish. I'll probably give them a couple of friends. They want some sort of shelf-like thing going on here, but definitely some seaweed. More anemones. Yeah. I have to visualize that word before I say it. Otherwise, my tongue kind of like loses its mind and says, no, you're on your own, and it doesn't want to help me say it. Anemone. Yeah, okay, there you go. I have to decide what color all these things are going to be. And I'm not going to care about going outside the line of the frame. This is more just to show you ideas. Still haven't figured out what kind of fish I want. There might be a lot of coral and like one fish. and that'll be it. It'll just be coral everywhere and one lonely fish because I don't know what I want. I'm loving this. This is making me happy. You know, the reality is this is an abstract. And an abstract is just another word for it can be anything you want. So that's what this is going to be. This is going to be a lot of, I'm going to make up this rock, and I'm going to make up this coral, and I'm going to make up, I should just make up fish. I should make up, yes, I'm going to make like purple fish. Purple with, you know, are there purple fish? I don't know. But there could be in my ocean. Could be purple with pink polka dots. All right, I'm going to color this all in. I've got enough of an idea of what I want to do. And I want to do my coloring in with alcohol ink. But alcohol ink is transparent. So when I color this layer in, you'll be able to see this layer through it. And we don't want that. We want this layer to really pop and be brilliant. I want to make my alcohol ink opaque. And the way to do that is to add white. The white is opaque. When I use different colors, I will be, in effect, tinting the white. That's how I was able to do the flowers in another video. All I did here was mix green alcohol ink with white alcohol ink, and now I had an opaque ink that I could paint onto black, and it really pops. So I'm going to do the same here. To start out with, I'm going to add some Claro extender to my palette so that this doesn't dry too quickly. And I'm going to add a generous amount of white ink. Now the white blooms, but doesn't bloom as much as other colors do. It's a little better behaved for this kind of thing. And then the other advantage to the white, that is not really doable easily with the colors is that you can come in and put another layer on top. And then now I want a little yellow. There's still white on the brush, so I'm picking up yellow and it's tinting the brush. Let me zoom you in. And I'm working with really, really fine point paintbrushes, and I have linked for those in the description box. I got a pack of 10 of these for less than $2, including the shipping. They're going to take a couple weeks to get to you because they're coming straight from China. But I've been using them for a couple of months and they're really working out nicely. Sometimes what happens is the ferrule separates from the stick, I don't know what you call this part, and a drop of glue, and you glue it back on and you're good to go. So I'm going to just keep on painting in my fish. I don't think you need to watch me paint, but I suppose you could, but I think that'd be boring. So things that I'm learning as I'm doing this, like for example with the fish, it would have been easier for me to color the whole fish in white and then put in the yellow stripes rather than alternate the way I did. So I learned that lesson too late. And so I am now painting in everything white, and I will use markers on top of the white. And I think that that's going to go faster. So, and another thing that I wish I had done was sketch on the back so that I wouldn't have to worry about covering up pencil lines, because then I could have just erased the pencil lines on the back after the fact. That is something I would do differently too. So I'm passing those tips on to you so you don't make the same mistakes I made. But I am loving this so far. I think it looks cute as heck. I don't know that it would be that interesting for you to watch this, but if in the future you want to watch me paint, let me know and I will, I don't know, maybe time-lapse me painting or something. But I thought it would be boring as all get out, so I removed most of it. But if I was wrong, let me know and I will do something differently next time. Now, just to show you a different way of doing this, on things that will be rocks that I'm going to need to color in gray, I'm painting the back white instead of the front, so that I can also compare and see is one way better than the other. And now I've switched over to acrylic because it's cheaper than alcohol ink. Since it's going to be on the back, I figure I might as well just use acrylic. For these, I think I'm going to make them predominantly orange. I would love to hear in the comments how many of you really enjoy painting. I could draw and paint, and I just love doing it. The point of this video was to show you how to layer and the benefits of Dura-Lar. But now I'm just kind of having fun, and I could do this all day. For the fish's eyes, I'm using a good old Sharpie, and technically it's alcohol ink. How about here? Sure, that's a reasonable spot. That's where they're getting their eyes. I do not want to hear about these fish. I made them up. I don't care. I like them. I think they're cute. So there. For the foliage, I kind of have to use Ranger's Limeade. It's a really bright poppy green, so I think that's going to really bring this to life. And I think that painting it white underneath kind of worked, because you really do see the gray on top of the blue. That worked out pretty well. I'm going to let the alcohol ink do its thing so that the rock has some texture. I am done. There is my underwater scene. I made these all up off the top of my head. I have no idea what any of these are. I don't care. I love them. I wanted something colorful and bright and happy, and I think that is all of that. And I love the faded background. It kind of gives it a little depth. That was the goal. The number one question I get asked after doing an alcohol ink video is, how do I seal or protect the piece I made? Ordinarily, I wouldn't bother sealing something on Dura-Lar since it can be framed under glass. However, I had a different reason for sealing this. By adding a layer of varnish to the foreground, I actually increased its translucent appearance, so I was able to better see my background layer. I chose a background that was basically all one color and had little contrast, so the added translucency was a good thing. A quick spray of Camar varnish worked really well to both protect the alcohol ink, because Camar varnish doesn't cause the inks to move or bleed, and it enhanced the Dura-Lar's translucency. Let me know what thoughts are running through your head now in thinking about ways to layer your work. Remember, you can also use the clear Dura-Lar for layers too. The possibilities are kind of endless, don't you think? Links for everything I used and talked about are in the description box below the video, and almost everything can be found in this easy grouping of products I set up for all of you on Amazon. Please continue using my links to get you to Amazon. It is helping me grow this channel. If you found this video helpful and maybe a little fun, please let me know with a thumbs up and take a quick second to share it with everyone you can. For more ideas, tips, and information you can use, make sure to click that subscribe button and the bell. Thanks for watching. Go let your creative nature shine. See you next time. Bye now.